You're watching another Nerd Stalker interview.
Good morning again. This is Gray Glory, aka Social Gray, on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today we're taking another journey into agile thinking. So we'll go in depth into an article on Examiner.com called Four Ways Agile Entrepreneurs Use to Optimize Time, and that's kind of an important topic. And that'll be with our regular guest, Taffy Williams, Examiner writer, entrepreneur, and co-founder and CEO of Colonial TDC, who will discuss his thoughts on this article. So, hey, good morning, Taffy, and welcome to Startup Blog Insights for September 2014, live from North Carolina, I believe.
Yeah, and welcome to not so sunny North Carolina today.
Yeah, it's not as bright as it usually is. Huh? We're getting to fall, aren't we?
Yeah, it's getting into the fall. It's getting a little cooler, a little bit of rain outside. So yeah, it's getting to where I had to wear a jacket to the gym this morning.
Oh, hey, is the leaves changing out there yet?
Not yet. Probably by the end of October, we'll definitely hit some peak times up in the mountains.
Oh, nice. If you go onto his website, you'll see his pictures of fall leaves he has there, and I'm sure he'll shoot some more this fall as well. So, anyway, let's get into this, man. So this month's Examiner article, you talk about four ways agile entrepreneurs use to optimize time. So, it's kind of an interesting topic because there's a lot of ways you could save time, right? Whether it's time to market, your own time, time to plan, a lot of that other thing. So let's talk about the first one. It says plan steps. So let's talk about that.
One of the things that is really kind of handy is if you can break any task, I don't care what it is, down into individual steps. You can do that on the fly in seconds, or you can take a longer time and think about it. But when you break it down into steps, reaching whatever goal it is you want to achieve, all of a sudden the path to reach that goal becomes a little bit easier to understand how to get there. I don't know if you've ever said, well, let's take something like I told you about my internet having problems, and and looking at the issues associated with it. But think about something as simple as your modem is out. So what steps would you take to try to get that modem back in operation? Well, first thing is unplug it and reset it. Second thing might be to take the cable off of it. The third thing might be to restart your computer. The fourth one might be to pick the phone up and call the supplier and ask them what's going on. And then,
Right.
and then if they can't figure it out, they send a repair person out. Well, those are steps. They're pretty straightforward. All of a sudden, an unsurmountable task becomes easier because you see a path to get there. So I like to think in terms of a process of how to get to an end goal, and if you do that, it kind of makes things a little bit easier. So the first point there was plan the steps.
So now,
once you recognize the steps, it's easier.
now one thing you do mention in that your article is especially about planning steps is not to be too optimistic or too pessimistic, correct?
Yeah, one of the things that happens, and because keep in mind that when you're building a company, you're going to put this stuff together. It's likely to end up in a presentation. You're going to stand in front of people that you're looking to get some money from. They may be willing to put money in. And let's say, okay, you walk in and you tell them, I can have this done in a month, and all of a sudden it takes you a year. Well, you look kind of stupid. What, did you really know what you were doing? If you tell them it's going to be a year and it takes you a month, okay, they realize that you didn't know what you were doing, but they're happier. You're better off getting closer to the accurate amount of time so that you can demonstrate an ability of understanding of what you're trying to accomplish and the issues associated with it, and that'll help them get a better feeling about you and your ability to manage.
Right. No, I I don't know what it is, but I think more conservatively, and that could be looked at as pessimistic. I know that
Yeah,
too optimistic is good, but
it's like, how long is it going to how long will it take to conduct a clinical trial, and how much is it going to cost? right? And so you stand up in front of investors and you want them to invest. They say, I can get this done in 2 years, and it's only I can do it for $10 million, and when really it's going to take you 5 years and $70 million. Okay, they know that it's going to take that long. If you're telling them the other one, you just don't look like you know what you're talking about.
Well, does pessimism work against you as well? Because I'm usually pretty pessimistic with some of my business planning, and so I'll tell the guy, well,
not if you tell them, here's a most conservative view, but if we're able to do the following kinds of things, here's a little bit more of an aggressive view. So give them fair balance. You can be pessimistic. It says it may take this long. I don't think it'll take longer. If we're able to accomplish these other things and remove these barriers, we may be able to do it in this time period.
That's good, because I think sometimes when I'm too pessimistic, it may not look credible as well, right?
Yeah, it makes you look like you can't get the job done.
Right.
Okay, I'll put my money behind you. You're never going to get this done.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure I would have put any there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, let's move to the next one. It was called Look for Roadblocks, because roadblocks could occur in many ways. Do you have any examples of that?
Oh yeah, just recently, actually yesterday. It's like about a month ago, I was in a discussion with a company, and we were talking about issues that we were running into with some potential investors, and how we were trying to get over it. And they were certain that they had resolved the problem and that were able to get the materials they needed because they had found a supplier that would do it, and they were in the midst of doing a contract. And I said, look, guys, I don't know whether you'll get the stuff from these people or not. Why don't you go out and find 3 other potential suppliers like A, B, C, and D, and I named who they were, and talk to them and see if you can run those in parallel, because for some reason or another, this group that you're talking to is exceptionally slow on the legal end of doing anything. Well,
Ooh.
I got a back and forth of, I don't know what I'm talking about and all that kind of stuff. So yesterday I get a call, and he said, I can't even get the people on the phone at this supplier place that they thought they were going to get. And they had called and talked to one of the other people that I told them to, and the guy said he could have materials to them within 24 hours. They called another one who could not only get the materials to them, but could set up a laboratory next to it to do some testing on a contract basis. And I said, that's what I tried to get you to do a month ago. Right now they can't even get the person when they were so far along with on the phone. I said, you better call and find out if she got fired. They have a tendency to remove people rather regularly. So it was, you don't realize that if you don't look for things where problems can occur, and it might be as simple as somebody you thought was going to work with you is having difficulties moving things through their system. It might be that a process of trying to create, a prototype. There's a key point in there where you overestimated how easy it was going to be, and it turns out to be a problem, and you might have been better off going an alternate route. So thinking about where issues can creep in, things that might slow you down, and thinking about alternatives to those can help you, even if you only take a single path, to make an adjustment.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the what-if planning is kind of important, isn't it? Especially when it comes to, especially something complex. I notice the more complex it is, the what-if planning becomes a lot more stringent, a lot more detailed.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling people you're going to have something done within a particular time frame, they're expecting to have it done within that time frame.
Right.
They don't really care what kind of problems you got into. They're assuming you know what you're talking about.
Right. They're the investor, you're the expert, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's move to the third one. Consider alternatives. It kind of goes with these roadblock, what if planning, right?
Roadblocks, but I mean, as an example, the group that I was talking to identified 3 other locations to get materials, and in discussions with them, realized that they could not only get what they wanted in a faster time frame, but they might be able to get additional work done there that would facilitate moving things faster. Okay, well, those are alternatives. Let's suppose that you decided you wanted to make a prototype that looked a certain way, and functioned in a certain way, and and you hit a roadblock along the way, or there might have been one, and you didn't have an alternate plan to create something, so that it might have been slightly different than what you thought were thinking of, but might have worked better. I mean, there are alternatives for what you're trying to do quite often, that if you can weigh one against the other and you have the resources, trying to pursue those alternatives give you maybe a parallel track to getting to the same end goal.
Well, going back to that optimism, pessimism thing, I noticed that when I'm very optimistic, I don't develop my alternatives as well.
That's correct. Why would you develop, if it's going to work perfectly, why do you need an alternative? This comes back to knowing what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Okay? It could be perfect, but you don't know whether it is or it's not. It just looks like it is. And so you'll have a tendency to not plan accordingly. And so, there are things you don't know, and the things you don't, are what really can sideline you.
Mm. I mean, do you have any techniques that kind of break you out of that optimistic mode and kind of makes it?
I assume I don't know anything. I says, look, some people get frustrated when they talk to me. I says, well, here are 3 alternatives for how you can approach the problem. I says, I don't give them one. Like, I have 3 because I can think of 3. That confuses them because they don't know how to deal with that. And unfortunately, I think that way when I look at something. I says, well, you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this. And typically, I'll try to do all 3 of them if cost isn't an issue. And I recognize that the problems with each one of them. And so, I'm always looking at where you can run into issues. Yesterday, I had a meeting with somebody that was thinking about joining a startup. And he works, he's an engineer, he works in a nonprofit, and somebody that used to work for him was created this business, and so I'm going through talking to him about the business, and I'm starting to ask him questions, and it's like, the whole world opened up for him. He didn't realize. I said, well, the intellectual property that you've got, who else can get access to it? He says, anybody. We give it away for free. I says, okay, you immediately now have competitors. And I says, what are you going to put in there in a priority type position to create a moat around your company? Well, right now we don't have anything. And I said, okay, you're planning on leaving where you are, which is a stable job, to go work for some place where you're not sure if they'll be able to pay your salary, to take a percentage of stock that might only be worth $500,000 if they exit, and you're telling me that that's a good deal? I said, something's not right.
Right.
It's the ability to look at a system and think about what might happen over time, and how you're going to get there, and whether you have what you think is going to occur is really going to occur.
Right. Okay, let's move on to the last one. Execute and adjust, which is really kind of what you were just talking about earlier. Is once you identify the alternatives, you identify the roadblocks, you're planning. You just need to go execute it, right?
There's no plan that goes smoothly. They rarely do. I mean, I drive from here to go to a location in Charlotte quite regularly, right? Even going to the airport, I know the route. You get on the road, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of cars there, or there's an accident. You have a tire goes out. You have some other kind of problem. You get a phone call that something that's problematic. So, yeah. Maybe 9 times out of 10 I'll get there. There's that one time this things are going to just go to hell in a handbasket. I mean, so you need to be able to make adjustments when on the fly. So if I'm going and there's a particular a bridge that I cross, when I look down over the top, if I see the cars backed up, I then immediately make a turn and go someplace else and go a slower route to get further up the road before I get back on the highway.
Right.
Part of that thinking is you're going to be able to execute what you may have done thousands of times because you recognize something's not quite right.
I see. Wow, that's cool. No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that it goes back again. It's that optimism pessimism balance that I think you mentioned earlier. I think that's really important because I think just like that guy that you mentioned, I'm sure he was very optimistic, right? I mean, he was willing to leave his job.
He is. He's thinking about leaving the job, to go do this, and I'm looking. I said, I wouldn't leave for $500,000. I mean, if you're going to take a risk and do that, you should set your sights higher.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You may end up with $500,000, but if you start with that as being what your end goal is, that says you're not going to even, if you don't reach it, you're pretty far down.
Well, yeah, and then there's people like me that are overly pessimistic who don't look like they could execute their way out of a paper bag, right?
Well, yeah, there's all automatically should start thinking in steps, and how do you get? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. It's like if you pull out on the highway in your car, and you know that like down the road, you got to make a left-hand turn, and if you pull out onto the right-hand lane when you pull out into the highway, that you're going to get trapped before you ever make your left-hand turn. Why would you ever get on the right-hand lane? Stay in the left-hand lane because you got to make a left-hand turn. Right. If you don't want to make lefts and turn in bad locations, plan the route so you don't make the lefts. I mean, what is it? Was it UPS determined that if you make only right-hand turns, they save gas and things go faster. So they plan the routes accordingly. I don't know if I see the trucks doing that, but that's supposedly they do. They actually have a UPS, a center that does nothing but investigate how to deliver things and how to improve timings, how to improve costs, and everything.
Wow, makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, especially in their business. I mean, that with fuel prices going up and everything, they need to have something like that. Which it all talks about what we're talking about today, right?
But everything that you do may be improved by putting some thought into it and changing how you and being not so locked into the way that you do it.
Right.
I'm used to driving exactly the same way to the same place every time. And if I'm doing that, then sooner or later I'm going to get stuck. If I plan along the way to take a look here or take a look there and make an adjustment, maybe I won't get stuck quite as often.
Right. Okay, well, anyway, I think let's close this off. I think that was a good talk about, kind of these 4 steps to actually thinking more agilely to optimize time. So anyway, thanks for the interview again, my friend, for September 2014. So, we're getting closer to your book launch, right?
Yeah, and then, I'm going to be out there where you are. Hopefully we'll find something on site in California and do a live one. Yeah,
let's do a live one. We'll have people come up with books. Maybe we'll set up a table at Chrissy Field or something like that. while joggers are going by, we could handle
someplace where they got cookies and cupcakes or something.
Yeah, we'll bring your iPad or your pad and a square so we could take the orders. All right. Okay, my friend. Right. Well, anyway, we're getting close to that, and I appreciate your time as always, man.
Yep, have a nice one.
All right. Well, that was Taffy Williams, the president and founder of Colonial TDC. You can catch him on the small business section of the Examiner.com through the Charlotte Small Business Examiner, where he writes a lot about articles about entrepreneurship and, of course, his blog, startup blog, at taffywilliams.startupblog.com. Is that how it works there?
But if they go to on the bottom, colonialtdc.com, there are links to everything.
Got it. Okay. And also, you can get his book at you can pre-order his book at many places. Amazon.com is one of them. Amacom, which is the American Management Association, and a bunch of other places, right?
Oh, sure. Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. There's it's already available for pre-order, and so it's out there, and you can read the first chapter now. The first chapter is available on the website. You can pull it up and read it. It's sort of table of contents.
Oh, that's right. You have a website on there. What's the URL for your website?
Oh, that's a really easy one. ThinkAgileBook.com.
Okay, that's good. Well, thank you. Go check it out. I think you'll appreciate exactly what we're talking about this month, as well as some of the other videos that we've shot this year on agile thinking. So anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Gloria, a.k.a. Social Greg on Twitter, for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Thanks again, Taffy.
Bye.